My Little Pony, full of such great moments and characters alike. Season 1 of the show, in my opinion, was a good start. No, not a great start. A good start. Despite the epic pilot episodes of finding the elements of harmony and fighting off Nightmare Moon, the rest of the season settles into a slice-of-life series. I don't mind this, but there are definitely some episodes that are better than others. And today, I think it would be fun to go through all of the entire season to give you all my thoughts and rank every single episode of Season 1 of My Little Pony. As a side note, this is what I wanted to do in the first place, but knowing it would take me too long to produce a full video like this, I released each episode as shorter content. I'm sure many of you have seen most of my thoughts, but now you can watch a non-stop flow of all my thoughts and a full ranking of them all as well. You may also notice that, as we go through here, the quality of the videos improves over time since I made the first one. So, without further ado, let's begin with episodes 1 and 2. Rightfully called Friendship is Magic. Ah yes, My Little Pony, friendship is magic. What a story, what a world, what an adventure. And what can I say except, well, I wanted to hate it, but instead I fell in love with it. Alright, so I did do a video of how I got into NLP. Go check that out too if you want, but to recap. My friend told me I should watch it. I was very skeptical of him and the show and put it off forever. Eventually, one night I was bored and gave it a chance. But even so, as I was watching it, I have to be honest, I was looking for anything at all to hate it and turn it off. And I have for reasons from the first 2 episodes to do just that. Number 1, the theme song. Okay, easy there. Let me explain. I like the song now. It not only grows on you, but the lyrics of the song not only have a decent message that captures the theme of the show, it actually brings nostalgia to me. Honestly, I know this show came out in 2010, but it feels much older than that, and not because of the setting, but because it feels something like the early 2000s. I grew up late 1990 and early 2000s, so shows like SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, reruns of Samurai Jack and Powerpuff Girls, or Hey Arnold, Invaders Im, the list goes on. Shows of that time period just had a vibe, and I feel this show does too. And the theme song fits it. It really feels classic. I don't know why. But I am a male, and as such, yeah, it's a little girly. Hey, I said the same thing about Powerful Girls, and I like that. And since it's a stupid criticism, I kept watching. Oh, criticism too, the bright colors. The 2010 shows I remember weren't that colorful and bright, that honestly I just didn't get into. But man, when I turned this episode on, my eyes burn. It's so colorful. Pinks and purples and yellow, God yellow. I was a man, I need black and red and dark and dang eye colors. Yeah, right, I'm stupid, aren't I? Curtain 3, no boys except a baby dragon, yet it didn't last long and for annoying pink ponies who sing. Really? That's my problem with it. I was looking for something, anything to hate, and yet I couldn't find any solid ground on anything to dislike. So I kept watching, and soon before I knew it, I fell in love with the story, the characters, the slice-of-life aspects. It was just really different and yet so familiar. For example, I thought from the first 2 episodes this was gonna be a grand adventure story, where every episode Twilight and her friends through the power of friendship was gonna stop some evil. And yes, that does happen, but a lot of the time it's just slice-of-life lessons. I say it's different, but then I look back on SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. Hey Arnold, just slice of life. Yes, I do like grand adventure like Star Wars, Marvel, and yes, Abenda. But even within those stories, a lot of the time it's slice-of-life moments that I love the most. And NLP is full of them, and yet somehow not full of enough of them. I only want more. Okay, so I talked your ear off. Let's actually finish by talking about the episode. Twilight is a book pony who reads a fairy tale about the 2 sisters and an old legend on the moon. She decided to tell the princess, her teacher, about the danger, and her wise teacher tells her, stop reading old dusty books and find some friends.
What? What the fuck?
She then sends her on a quest to a little backwater town called Ponyville, where she is to do just that and look over the preparations for a festival. Twilight, along with her pet friend, little brother. Okay, I know Spike isn't that now, but at the time, it seemed odd, but you get used to it. Unfortunately for me, I liked her. And looking back on it now, while rewatching the episode, knowing how far she comes, and seeing her first step, why, it makes me want to cheer for her. Spike, I didn't have much thought. He was cute. I found it funny how he couldn't spell Twilight smarty pants big words, and still today I laughed at the old joke. But Spike actually does grow in the series, and I like that character growth both figuratively and literally. Anyway, she first runs into a pink pony, a Rio, after saying hi, runs away. First impression? Well, that was over the top. God, did I have no idea just how over the top. I do plan to make a Pinky character video on her, but man, was she annoying, at least I thought so. Now looking back on it, knowing her character and how much I love her, she just makes me smile when on screen. When meeting Applejack, Dash, Rarity, and Fluttershy, each with their own personality type, job, look, and so on. Then it's time to meet the Nightmare Moon is back, and yet even back then I thought her design was awesome to say the least. And from there we get the second episode where she terrorizes the town and Twilight goes to find the elements of harmony. The only thing can stop her, she doesn't know what they are, but knows she must find them. But her new friends, even against her will, decide they will help and show kindness, loyalty, generosity, honesty, and laughter. Okay, I hated that Pinky song when I first heard it. Thought, man, I just can't catch a break. But looking back on it now, while it's not a savvy of mine, I do see a lesson in it that is charming. Laugh at the spooky, giggle at the crazy. It's a way to get through your fears, and to be honest, if you can laugh at the darkest and scariest of times, then you can get through anything. And I really feel like right now in this day and age, we all need to learn that lesson down the line. So, once Twilight finds out that her friends represent the elements of harmony, and when put together create the magic of friendship, she is able to blast away the darkness in Nightmare Moon's heart and save the day. From here I thought, okay, so is she going to be a returning villain? Or is there going to be another villain, one far more sinister? Is this going to be a larger story where eventually the Fire Nation attacks and we have to stop a war, only to find out her dad is the villain? Okay, I'm done. Now, next episode we take a more slice of pie approach, but yeah. This episode did hook me, and it is a great departure. And I'm so glad I did give the show a chance. With that said, though I do enjoy it, it's far from my favorites that the show has to offer. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I like it a lot. And actually, you're going to find 7 out of 10 is a common number I give out. I like it, I don't love it, despite having such nostalgia for the first episodes. Knowing what this show has to offer in later seasons, I just can't give it higher than that. Episode 3. The Ticket Master.
I don't want any part of this girly gala gunk.
You and me both. Okay, so apparently some big fancied dance is going to happen, and Twilight gets tickets to it for her teacher. Twilight must find someone to go with her, but who? Spike? Why doesn't she just go with Spike? I mean, come on, makes more sense. Anyway, Twilight just got done helping Applejack in the yard collecting apples. Nice to see her being a friend when. But oh no, she's hungry and just wants to eat. But thanks to these tickets, everyone and their mother is after her. Applejack wants to go so she could see her desserts and make big dough. Dash wants to meet the Wonderbolts, her favorite flying group. Pinky, oh Pinkie Pie. I originally thought, God, she was annoying, but actually she puts a smile on my face whenever she's on screen now. She wants to go because it's a party. Rarity wants to go because she wants to meet her Prince Charming, and Fluttershy wants to go because she loves animals and wants to visit the Castle Guardians. They each end up trying to impress Twilight in some goofy over-the-top way, and damn, just let her eat a sandwich for God's sake. I also love seeing all the characters' personalities really shine in the episode. Fluttershy's shyness is so cute. And I like how after looking at her rabbit, she just speaks the truth. Lol. Rarity, over the top, and Pinky throws a party before letting it slip to the town about the ticket. And soon they all chase her down. Lol. I also like the fact that she is slowly using her magic spells she learns in her day-to-day life, like when she zaps her and Spike away from them all. Crazy ponies. By the end of the episode, though, she replies back, well, if I can't take all my friends, then none of us will go. And the princess returns with just asking for more tickets. They're all allowed to go. Hooray. Damn, can this show be any more girly? Stuck too soon. Well, anyway, I do like the lesson, and it is entertaining at the very least. I also like that at the end of the day, they all felt bad for pushing Twilight, if for taking one of them and none of them thinking about her. Instead, It was a nice lesson for kids. And with that said, I'll give it a 7 out of 10 episode for Applejack seasons. No, not that type of bucking. And you know, I actually thought this was episode 3. I completely forgot about the ticket episode. I really do remember this episode perfectly. So it starts out with Applejack and her brother, who speaks.
Boy, howdy. I got my work cut out for me.
Yep. Too big for you to handle on your own.
I harvested the entire sweet apple acres without your help.
Oh, sure y'all can. Yes, I like a good old quiet pony. But I don't mind him speaking, and this was before that joke became the norm for his say, to be honest. I actually wish he had a bit more to say, to be honest. But we hear him see her. Also, he's her older brother. I don't know why I forgot that. But it's cool to hear. Now, I also love the vibe that he is with that farmer grass in his lips, and I wish they kept that part of his character. But he loses it right after this episode. He's hurting the apples off the tree. So Applejack believes she can do it herself and needs no help. She's a country girl, a tomboy who saves the town, gets a reward from a stampede. And to be there to help all her friends, she helps Dash come up with new flying moves, bake with Pinky, and then help count bunnies with Fluttershy. There's your other type of bucking. She does this and more and eventually just gets tired of the apples and soon messes up because of how tired she is. All day and night. In the end, she learns she has to sometimes ask for help. A good lesson in another good episode. Still, this is one of my favorite early episodes, and I'm giving this one an 8 out of 10. Episode 5, Griffin the Brush Off.
Hey, Pinky, come here.
Yeah?
Don't you know how to take get lost for an answer? Dash doesn't need to hang with a dweeb like you now that I'm around. You're darking up the sky, stinky pie. So make like a bee. Buzz off!
Strange. It's like looking in a mirror for me and seeing my own ugly. And man, I'll tell you what, looking back, watching this episode, I just love Pinky in this. She's such a friendly soul that really puts a smile on my face. But it wasn't always that way. Back when I was first watching the episode, looking for anything to not like about it, I found her annoying. Right, so have you ever had that one friend to get away from? That one person that is so annoying you avoid when you want some peace? Yeah, I have a few friends in that light. Friends I do appreciate when I'm in the mood. But when I'm down, they are the last place I want to be, and yet at times can be the best place to cheer me up. And Pinky is that friend for Dash. It starts out with her annoying Twilight, who is just wanting to read a book when Pinky runs off to go see Dash and tell her to avoid the mountains. How in the world does she keep up with Dash? Cartoon logic. Anyway, Dash tries to avoid her, thinking she's uncool, only to give in and help her with whatever lame project she's doing. A cloud over someone great to prank? Oh, but wait. She likes pranks, Dash likes pranks, and so they go on a prank spree, becoming closer. Okay, so that is literally how I got into DC. I was a Marvel guy, and one of my friends, he wasn't a notable one, that was someone else. But he wanted to hang and get closer. So we watched DC and became best buddies. So I do like that we are seeing that character growth here. One of the best scenes of the entire show is, no joke, Pinky and Dash ranking Fluttershy. Pinky stops Dash knowing that she will cry if they do. This is fantastic because it truly shows how much she cares. She wants to have fun and a good time. Her personality isn't mean, but it's rash and doesn't think of the consequences of her actions. Luckily, she has Pinky to pull her back a level and think things through, meaning that they both work as a great team. Then, the next day, Dash has her friend Gilda over. Someone who is cool, awesome, knew her from the old days of flight camp, and is only nice to Dash. When Ash looks away, Gilda just wants to be with her and no one else. Okay, I have to come clean here, jealous me. I didn't want to share my friends with others. I acted nice then turned around and was mean when my real friend wasn't looking. Damn it, it's true. And I lost a lot of my friends because of my actions, as does Gilda. Eventually, I changed my ways and made real friends. But the story hits me right in the feels because of that. Anyway, Pinky tries to do something about it. And how? By throwing a prank party and having a good time. But Gilda thinks she's doing it on purpose to make her look bad. That could have been the case. That's Jack that no. Pinky just wanted to make friends, and it was Dash that made the pranks for everyone. Gilda just set them off. Really speaks a lot to the characters of Pinky and Dash. And so, Dash is forced to see the reality and diss Gilda high. She deserved it, as did I back then. It's another reason why I just fell in love with this show. I'm giving this episode an 8 out of 10, which is surprising since when I first watched it, I gave it like a 6 because I didn't like Pinky. Glad I changed. Episode 6, Ghostbusters.
What are you two doing? Just bringing the GMP here. What? The great awful Trixie. Shh, shh, just...
Once again, you took the words right out of my mouth, Spike. Huh. A Ghostbusters reference, maybe. Now, when I first watched this, I hated Trixie, and that's a good thing you're not supposed to like her. The fact that she eventually becomes someone who saves Equestria with her friends does make for a fun character arc to go through. She's not evil, she's just annoying and rude. And she learns to be better later on, making her a compelling character. But truth be told, she's not my favorite. But this isn't a video on Trixie. I'll make a character video on her later. No, this is a review of the episode. So let's get to it. So Twilight has her magical talent and is getting better with it all the time. But when Trixie shows up and starts boasting about how great she is, the ponies don't like her overdoing it. And seeing how they react, Twilight fears that they think she'd be just like Trixie A. Show Off. Snips and snails to characters that I get a laugh out of. Worship her and want to prove her story true. So when Trixie claims she defeated a monster called a Nursenager, a giant star bear, if you don't know, that's the name of the bear constellation, they go out of their way to find one and put the town in danger. Now, is it their fault, or is it Trixie's for making them believe she was able to do such a thing? Yep, I blame Trixie, not these idiots. They were just trying to have faith in their hero. I can kind of sympathize with them, even if they do something dumb. So many give these two a bad rap. At least they're characters and are actually in the show, and like a certain white alicorn that does really nothing at all. But I'll get to that in an upcoming video. Anyway, when the town is in danger, Twilight shows her magic and saves the day. They love her for it, and she learns the lesson. It's okay to be talented. It's okay to share that talent. But it's not okay to lie and boast or overshadow. Honestly, this is a lesson that I feel many adults need to learn, and it's lessons like that make this show so great. The fact is, when I was growing up watching stuff like SpongeBob and the Fairly Odd Parents, sure, I could laugh at the ridiculous concepts of magic and talking sponges or ghosts, like in Danny Phantom. But you know what? Out of everything, it was the lessons that resonated with me the most. Sure, I saw shows like the Flintstones or the Jetsons, and some reloadies like Tom and Jerry. But what made shows really special when I was a kid were the ones that taught me a valuable lesson and made me smile and laugh. It's lessons like this that make the show not only memorable, but feel much older than 2010. I still feel the golden age of cartoons was the 1990s and early 2000s, but wow, is this show such a gem in the 2010s? Only wish I was a fan back then. Oh, 14 years later, it's never too late to start, right? Episode 7, Fluttershy.
Dare you? How dare you? Listen here, mister. Just because you're big doesn't mean you get to be a bully. You may have huge teeth and sharp scales and snore, smoke, and breathe fire, but you do not, I repeat, you do not hurt my friends! You got that?
You go, girl. Oh my god. This might be one of my favorite episodes of the season. I love it. I love it. I love it. No, it's not my favorite of the entire show or anything. But I'm giving it a 9, and I don't care what anyone says. Fluttershy is just such a great character that I'm always rooting for. I probably relate to her a lot and want to see her get better. Okay. I get it. Let's get to the episode already. I already made a Fluttershy video all about her. You can go check that out after this. Now, the premise of the episode is simple. Smoke is coming from a big cave, and in it is a great big dragon. Fluttershy has a sweet and kind connection with animals, and the gang needs her experience to help with the dragon. She's shy, though, and scared, and doesn't want to confront the mean, scary dragon. But when her friends need her help, she stands up. I love seeing her more maternal side. It's this side that helps her befriend Discord and makes him change his ways. Well, most of the time. Yeah, safe to say I love this episode, but feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. However, if you think she's lame because she just learns the same lesson over and over again, then I'm sorry, but you're wrong. She's an introvert, a shy person, and she slowly comes out of her shell. You need to take a holistic look at her character, not just one part. Episode 8, Look Before You Sleep. That's how I sleep. Oh, this is a fun one with a good lesson, too. Applejack and Rarity end up fighting when a big storm is happening, and they stay over at Twilight's for a sleepover. You've got the country girl and the pretty girl, the tomboy versus the city glamour girl. And yeah, hilarity ensues. But at the end of the episode, they learn that when the storm sends a tree branch into Twilight's home, they have to put aside their differences and work together. They also learn that they're friends and that it's okay to be messy and okay to be proper. It's a great episode, and sure, I could go into detail of the hilarious jokes in the episode, but instead of blabbering, why don't you go watch it for yourself? I give it a 7 out of 10, a great story and an even better lesson. Episode 9, Bride El Gossip.
Enchantress, she does evil dances, and if you look deep in her eyes, she'll put you in trances. Then what will she do? She'll mix up an evil brew, then she'll gobble you up in a big tasty stew. So
Pinky, what happened?
Hey! Zecora! Oh! He slapped us all with the...
I'm afraid I have to agree.
I hate to say I told you so, Twilight, but I told you so. Yeah.
But Fluttershy seems just fine. Is there something wrong with you?
I don't want to talk about it.
This is the episode where we first meet the zebra. Everyone's afraid of her because she lives in this different. Come on, it's like, really? I like how Twilight tries to be the voice of reason here. I also like how Applejack is so protective of her little sister, she doesn't realize her own ignorance. I appreciate Apple Bloom's determination of her interest in trying to not only stand up for herself, but also for what's right, despite being a little frightened at first. It turns out she's right, and the zebra is nice. However, the gang ends up chasing her into the woods and getting into Poison Goke. Fuss turns them. Twilight's horn goes soft, wow. There's a joke there. Isn't there? Isn't there? Dash can't fly straight. Pinky's young swells out. And Rarity is bad. But the best is Fluttershy. That had me cracking up when I first saw the episode, even when I was really trying to hate it. I tried not to laugh. But that was the first joke that hit me hard and made me burst out loud. It was just so unexpected. Okay. Carol, I gotta play that clip, or how about this one?
She's an evil enchantress and she does evil dances. And if you look deep in her eyes, she will put you in trances. Then what will she do? She'll mix up an evil brew. Then she'll gobble you up in a big tasty stew. So, watch out.
The clouds move on their own. What the hell? Oh God, I love this show. I like the lesson that you shouldn't be scared of something, or more importantly, someone new just because they're different from you. I also like how the zebra helps Twilight and the others with the same book she had in her library and thought wouldn't help into jokes. At all, because about different kind of medicine. There's another lesson in there. Don't judge a book by its cover. It's the entire point of this story. I give it a 7 out of 10, a great story and an even better lesson. But seriously, though, while it is hilarious, I really like the entire debate about trusting someone you don't know and being scared of them because they're different. It's actually the younger ponies who are willing to give them a shot for 2 reasons. 1, they don't know better, and while that can be seen as a flaw, it also means that the younger ones can see the flaws in society and choose a better path, one of acceptance, versus that of the older generation. It really makes for an interesting perspective on this very sensitive topic, all done in a kid's show like MLP. Moments like these are why I love cartoons. They present lessons that are crucial. And I still feel that more people, especially adults, need to learn from this episode. People can just get so used to and set in their ways that they don't become very accepting of others. And the way I see it, if I have a right to exist, to say what I want, and do what I want, then so do they, don't they? Even if I, my opinion, think they are wrong. Was that said on the flip side, they also need to be able to accept my opinion whether they think I'm wrong. Well, sure, in this episode you could dive deeper into the way someone looks or sounds or acts. I think you can also look at it in just basic opinions, as well as religion, politics, KS, etc., and really anything. So long as it doesn't hurt anybody, then let them have their own space. With that said, what I don't agree with and never will agree with is any source of violence on anyone. Learn to agree to disagree and move on. We're all stuck on the same planet, stuck in the same room. You'll preach my way, you can preach yours, and people can decide for themselves who to follow and who to not. Sorry to get into the serious topics, but with an episode like this, how can you not, am I right? Episode 10, Swarm of the Century.
You're the cutest thing ever.
Okay, so Fluttershy finds a new little friend while collecting flowers for the princess and brings it home not knowing what it is. It eats sleep like rabbits. Here are your apple bucking. They multiply in a day, and now the whole town has a huge swarm of them to deal with. Here's the big problem, though the princess is on her way, and the whole town is a mess. What will Twilight do? While everyone is trying to handle the situation, Pinkie, strangely enough, seems to know what to do, but everyone thinks she's just being goofy Pinkie and not being helpful. But it turns out she was gathering a bunch of instruments so she could lure the bugs back to the forest. The day is saved just for Celestia to arrive and say she has to cancel due to an investigation and can't her lot. Twilight was freaking for nothing. I do like the lesson here about just hearing someone out. It's a good lesson. I give it a 7 out of 10, a great story and an even better lesson. I give a lot of 7s, don't I? But that's just it. When I first watched it, I was looking for things to hate and couldn't find anything. Now, rewatching it, I feel these scores 7 and a few 8s are just right. They're not bad episodes at all. They're just far from the best that My Little Pony has to offer. What is important in these episodes, other than the lessons, is the characters. It lets you warm up to them, get to know them one by one, see their flaws, their qualities. That winter wrap-up! Episode 11, winter wrap-up. Okay, so let's face it, that damn song, it's so damn catchy. Do you know, that's what I really like about My Little Pony. When they have a song, it's actually for a good reason, and it only adds to the show. Look, I used to watch plenty of cartoons and heard plenty of songs. The most memorable episodes were when the songs were scarce and meant something. SpongeBob or The Fairly Odd Parents are good examples of this. While I was a fan of Phineas and Ferb, they have way too many songs, and a lot of the time, they just don't resonate because the songs don't add to the episodes. Not all the time. I do like a lot of them. So don't point your blasters at me, Phineas and Ferb fans. But I feel MLP does the music for the right reasons. In this one, it really does fit. Why? Because it's more than just a catchy tune. It's Twilight singing about how she wants to help make a difference in her world that doesn't know how. The episode itself is fantastic. The ponies all must clean up, or springtime, and are really busy. They clean up without using magic. But that's all she's good at, right? How can she help out? She tries her best, but when she uses just a bit of magic, boom. The mess is made, and it turns out every year the ponies never finish on time for springing the town. They're unorganized. Oh, but that's Twilight's specialty. She helps them by being the planner. This lesson is great. It shows that even if you can't help at first, there is always a way you can be at least useful. I love it for that. And yeah, that song. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10, one of the absolute best of the season so far. With that said, I'm tempted to give it a 9, but can't into knowing there are so many episodes that are actually better than this one. Isn't that crazy? Episode 12, Call of the Cutie.
What's the matter, kid? There's a cute scenario this afternoon, and every poem in my class will be there, and they'll all love the cutie mark. I said I want to get my cutie mark, but I'm no good at selling apples, but I really want to go to the party. But how can I go to the party if I don't have my cutie mark? Because my big sister says I'm going to get it eventually, but I want it now.
Okay, the CMC, the cutie mark thing, yuck. Can this show be any more girly? I'm going to be honest as always. I think, despite being a Fluttershy type, My element might be honesty. I hate saying it now because of how much I actually do like the CMC. But Trudy Marks, just the word. My vocabulary hates it. Unless, as a man, I'm talking about a girl's ass and not a child's. Seriously, though, a tattoo on your ass that apparently represents your best interest? What the hell? Okay, but seriously, jokes aside, it is an interesting concept, I must admit. And yeah, I did notice a lot of the ponies have them, but I thought it was just a design choice when I first heard of it. The show does eventually dive into interesting dilemmas due to this concept. I may hate the name, but I can admit that at the very least. However, when I was first watching the show, I considered this filler. I mean, sure, this wasn't exactly a story about a grand adventure to stop the Fire Lord's takeover or anything, but it did have a run of storylines, at least. And I wanted nothing to do with the filler. Yet, I'm able to admit when I'm wrong, and yeah, I'm wrong about the CMC. They actually have a great story and a lot of character growth among these three. We first meet Apple Bloom, and she feels like she's an outcast due to not having her mark. She wants a mark and wants to find what she is good at. That journey of self-discovery and feeling like you're an outcast because you don't fit in is something I relate to. And I'm sure a lot of NLP fans do too. It's lessons like these that make the show so good. And here's the fact, you could tell this story with anyone or anything. And if done right, people would love it. I feel like MLP is a great example of how it doesn't matter what it is. Good lessons, good characters, and good stories are all you need to bring in an audience. It doesn't matter if it's rainbow-colored ponies or not. What's really important is how you can discover other outcasts and find friends in them, like Apple Bloom does with her friends. I who feel like an outcast among outcasts. I really feel this now. I know I didn't talk much about the plot. It's just very simple. Apple Bloom wants a mart, goes to a bully's party where she gets laughed at for not having one, only for two more ponies without cutie marks to befriend her because of their lack of mart. Such a sweet story. How did I ever consider this filler and want to skip it? I give it a 7 out of 10. Episode 13, Fall Weather Friends.
Ooh-wee! Not a bad pitch for a pony who works with her head in the clouds.
Oh, yeah? Think you can do better, cowgirl?
I know I can. Yeehaw! It's a ringer. That's how we do it down here on the farm.
I lost.
Don't feel bad, Rainbow. It's all in good fun.
I hate losing.
Don't we all? And subscribe for more NLP content. Oops, how'd I get there? Okay, honestly, let's not start the ship wars. I don't ship them, I just thought it'd be funny. But I really do like Applejack and Dash in this episode. A fun rivalry between them gets intense. Not that type of intense. I mean, they start fighting over a little game and let the competition almost ruin their friendship. Now, the whole arch-rival grind isn't a new concept. It's pretty popular in anime, which I'm used to, just like Goku versus Vegeta, or better comparison, Bakugo versus. Dick-legged rivalry can actually make you want to improve. Don't let it go too far, and it can ruin friendships. I like that this episode shows that. So one day they're playing a game, and Dash's cocky attitude gets the best of her when Applejack wins. They soon begin to argue about who's the best, and I like that we see Applejack does indeed have a competitive side. After a bunch of little competitions, the two decide that the way to show who's the best is to win the big leaf race, where they run through the town to knock down old leaves from the tree. It's a creative concept, and I like how they incorporate the idea of how the ponies change the seasons. They ask Twilight to keep score and be referee at first, but later she joins the race, and when Applejack and Dash fall due to their competitive nature and not watching where they are going, Twilight points them in the right direction, showing them that neither one was cheating, they were just too competitive to see their own mistakes. Also, Twilight's number 42 in referencing The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a great nod, just saying. I read the book long, long ago. One last thing to note is how much I like Pinky. She was so sweet to include Spike as her co-announcer. How did I ever hate her? Oh well. I give it a 7 out of 10, a great story, and an even better lesson. Episode 14 suited for success. When you think of My Little Pony, I'm sure you all think of the grand adventures Twilight and her friends had. When you think of My Little Pony, I'm sure you think of the heartfelt moments between friends. the lessons they teach, and the many fantastical characters we got introduced to. But when I think of My Little Pony, this is what comes to my mind.
Some magic in the dress, even though it rides high on the flank. Oh, dress. Outfit for the what now? Piece by piece, snip by snip, creep to hunch, shoulders hip, thread by thread, we're stressed, and that's the art of the dress.
No, I'm not kidding. That's how I felt watching this the first time. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. This is, by far, the absolute girly episode ever. This is when I expected My Little Pony to be girly dresses and makeup with girls giggling about boys and dances. That is just a guy's point of view, isn't it? And it was my view, too. But then I actually gave it a shot. This episode actually feels like it captures everything I did expect and didn't expect from this show. I'd rather watch this episode and its art of the dress than the bullshit and trash we often get that pushes agendas in politics over good storytelling any day of the week. The story is simple. With the gala coming up, Twilight needs a dress and goes to Rarity, the best dressmaker in town, to get one. She then notices that all her friends need dresses and starts making them. However, her friends are a little less excited about the final results and ask for over-the-top designs. Rarity thinks their requests are absurd, but does what she can to make her friends happy. She then puts on a fashion show for them to showcase her work to the town. A big fancy clothes critic comes to see it, and her work is, well, less than what she wants to show. Her generosity shines through in this episode. She tries to make everyone happy and learns in the end that while you should try, you can't make everyone happy and stretch yourself to thin. She doesn't even get to finish her own dress. I also like that there are two sides to this coin. The others all learn to accept generosity and not be so judgmental, make her feel better. They not only wear the dresses she originally made, but make her dress for her. How touching. And in the end, I can't believe I'm saying this, but after rewatching it, I think this is going to be a 10 out of 10 for me. This episode captures everything I feel for MLP. A series on the outside that I thought would be lame and girly, only to find some real heartfelt moments despite its girly exterior. Don't judge a book by its cover. And while I still think this is the most girly episode by far of all My Little Pony, I really do love this episode. A 10 out of 10. His episode is what I think of when I think of My Little Pony. And Rarity, for that matter. Episode 15, feeling pinky cute.
Eyes over here, Spike.
Sorry. Can't help it. Look!
Actually, Pinky, I haven't the slightest idea.
The twitching means my pinky sense is telling me that stuff's gonna start falling. You two better duck for cover.
Oh, Pinky, it's not gonna rain. Why, there's barely even a cloud in the tree.
Twilight? You got a little something on your face there.
Oh, really? Did your Pinky sense tell you that, too?
Nah, I could just see it. La 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 la.
Love sarcastic Twilight. But seriously, though, I don't even know how to explain this episode. MLP has some really fantastic ones, and then there are just some downright weird ones. And this episode starts off with Twilight and Spike magic training, but Spike's distracted by Pinky being weird. She's constantly moving around, ducking for cover as if the sky's going to fall, and somehow she's actually right. A frog falls on Twilight's face. Turns out Fluttershy is transporting some flaws to the swamp, and passing by one fell. Coincidence? I think not. Pinky was right, all odd as it may be. Okay, now, while this episode introduces a lot of the average Pinky stuff, like her pinky sense and her pet alligator with no teeth named Gummy. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, I actually don't like this episode that much. Look, I already made this video discussing how I eventually became a fan of Pinky over time, but even so, I have to admit this episode is just a little too much even for me. Me? But I do like the lesson in the end, that lesson being basically, it's okay not to understand everything or everyone. And sometimes you can make interesting friendships with those who seem strange to you. Back then, when I used to hate Pinky, this was one of my least favorite episodes. But I was clearly being too harsh. It's kinda funny, though. Twilight is a unicorn using magic, yet she is so fact-based. When Pinky's odd antics add up to something strange, Twilight tries to get to the bottom of it, but learns to accept that she can't understand everything and shouldn't. Instead, she just goes with it, that and her friend, but not before going to a ridiculous amount trying to solve the mystery of Pinky. She does a bunch of tests that don't go right and leads them into a big swamp with a Hydra after them. How chaotic and fun. Earth ponies do have magic, but not the kind you can understand. And Pinky's especially is strong. In the end, I usually give episode a 7, but not this one. This one is a 6. I just don't like this one very much. Even though I get a laugh out of it. Episode 16, Sonic Ray and Boom.
What have we learned?
Lots of control,
Good.
screaming and hollering,
Yes, and most importantly,
passion.
right. So now that you know the elements of a good cheer, let's hear one.
Yay.
Ugh, you're gonna cheer for me like that? Louder.
Yay.
Louder!
Yay.
Louder!
In this episode, Dash wants to win the Best Young Flyers competition and practices her moves as best she can. She aims to perform the legendary Rain Boom, a move only ever seen once and done by her as a filly. It's a sonic boom with a burst of rainbow colors. She wants her friends there, but only Fluttershy can walk on clouds. Oh, Rarity suggests that Twilight find a spell so they can cheer her on. Well, that was convenient. I really like how Rarity is the one to notice Dash's nerves about it. It really adds depth to their friendship. Twilight then comes up with an idea. She puts a spell on Rarity, giving her wings, but due to how delicate they are, she decides a cloud-walking spell is easier. I really enjoy learning about the different types of magic in this world. They are so creative. Not to mention the look of Cloudsdale being made out of clouds and the weather factory. That's all really cool. Who knew? Anyway, I also love seeing that despite how shy Fluttershy is, she is trying to defend her friend against the bullies who think Dash can't pull off her trick and call her Rainbow Crash. Such a nice touch. As for Rarity, her shiny wings attract attention, and they put her in the competition. She tries her best to show off maybe a bit too much, and her wings catch fire due to being delicate in the sunlight. To save her, Dash must give up the competition and rescue her friend. In doing so, she finally pulls off the big trick, the Rain Boom, and wins, not just for her moves, but most importantly for her act of bravery and friendship. And what was the lesson? I guess the message is not to over-worry yourself before a big competition. Yeah, I guess that works. Or in Rarity's case, don't be a show-off. Sorry, but I'm not giving this a 7. Despite having great world building with the Weather Factory, it's a 6 out of 10 for me. I just think it's sad, all right? There are a lot better episodes in this season alone, not including the series as a whole. I actually forgot this even was an episode. But it's not bad, and I don't hate it. Episode 17, Stairmaster. Yeah, been there, done that. So, have you ever tried to help, tried to be nice, tried to do something, and in return, just made things worse? Have you ever felt like you shouldn't even be there in the first place? Yeah, I have, and Sweetie Belle in the beginning is exactly how I felt. But enough about that. The CMC want to have a sleepover, but Rarity is far too busy. Luckily, Fluttershy walks in with her pet cat. She has a way with animals, something about a stare. Okay, so she's willing to babysit the CMC, and when it's a bit much, she learns that sometimes she just has to be strict, especially when dealing with kids. I love this lesson, and the episode is fun. It also has a catchy lullaby to sleep to. Damn, I love her. She's so cute. Anyway, the kids sneak out and run into the woods when they discover a missing chicken. This leads them to finding Twilight in the woods turned to stone created by a monster, turned it into only for Fluttershy to come in and save the day with her stare when she outstares the monster down despite being turned to stone. It's her motherly side, and that is her motherly stare. I got that a lot from my own mother growing up. Anyway, the kids then learn, after being saved, that they need to listen to Fluttershy at least and start behaving so that they don't end up in danger again. Oh, I love this and wish there were more episodes of Fluttershy babysitting the CMC. At least we have the comics for that, along with Discord of all things, haha. It's a great episode, really a 7 out of 10. Yes, despite this being one of Fluttershy's best moments, the episode itself is good. Just not one of the best, which is pretty amazing even to me, since I'm a Fluttershy now. But I have to be realistic with these reviews and not give her a 10 out of 10 every time. Thank you for watching. Please like and share, and leave your thoughts down below. And always remember, friendship is magic. Episode 18, The Showstoppers.
I had nothing to do with this.
What is going on here?
Well, we sure aren't getting our cutie marks for being librarians.
Huh, I should think not.
What? Girls, I think you're going about this the wrong way. Instead of trying to do things in areas you're not familiar with, why not try doing things in areas that you already like?
Solid advice, Twilight. I talked about how I first didn't like the CMC, but how they slowly grew on me as time went by. I honestly think this is probably their second best episode in the entire series. What's the first? Oh, that would be in Season 4. We'll talk about that later. I'm reviewing the entire show, so be sure to like and subscribe for more My Little Pony content. A brief overview of the episode is that the CMC Club wants to find their marks and is going to do it. When a talent show is brought up, they decided it'd be awesome to try and figure it out there. So they put on a song and dance routine that's sure to get their marks. They practice at their new clubhouse, given to them by Applejack.
Cutie Mark Crusaders, welcome to your new clubhouse. Well, don't thank me all at once. This was my clubhouse when I was your age. Sure, it hasn't been used in a while, but it's empty and on a secluded private part of the farm. And it's all yours. It just needs a little, TLC.
TLC is in tender loving care or totally lost cause.
I love this kid. That's far from the only joke in the episode I like. I enjoy seeing all the gags. Their trying and failing reminds me of when I used to try and figure out my own talents as a kid. Skateboarding, baseball, video games, and swimming a long list of things that just weren't for me. I mean, yes, I like video games and I like the pool, but I'm no professional gamer. I just like Mario, and I like cool water on a hot day, Sumi, but I'm not an athletic swimmer by any means. Kind of wish back then that I had someone give me the advice I like Dave. Do something that you like doing, which for me is writing stories, watching stories, learning about storytelling, and eventually led me to becoming a YouTuber for 8 years, talking mostly about Star Wars and 100 other topics. Only to fail because I didn't understand how YouTube worked. Then I took that knowledge from my mistakes and failures and applied it to this YouTube channel, which somehow actually is working. How? I have no idea, but I'll keep at it, just like the CMC. I do like how they show that they have their own talents and aren't just figuring out what they are good at and what they should stick to. Or is it? Most people would argue that they should have shown their marks. But hear me out. We know that their marks are indeed about helping others find their talent. I would like to argue that what they are doing in these episodes, constantly failing, is their journey to something that clicks. Because they know all the ways to fail, they know what not to do and can't teach others instead, and this is their talent. We keep saying our talent is what we are good at, when in fact, I feel as though what we are actually all good at is failure and learning from our failures. Just like I have with YouTube, the CMC are destined to figure that out eventually. Or at least that's what I take away from their journey. I feel like, yet they could have gone the simple route and just given them what they were good at. But if they did that, that would send the wrong message. It would say that you're destined to be good at only what you are good at, nothing else. I like how, in the end, the CMC's message is that truly finding your own way and growing up and discovering who you want to be is about failure and never giving up because you failed. Instead, you must learn from your failures. This is a lesson that I myself didn't really figure out until much later. Sorry, I went on another tangent, but I felt it was necessary. They put on a horrible play. It goes so bad that it was funny, and they win because of that instead. I also like that little hint of a lesson in comedy as well. Take life one step at a time and never throw in the towel. I'll give this episode an 8 out of 10 for being the best episode that showcases what the journey of failure is all about. Episode 19, A Dog and a Pony.
Yes, gems, gems, precious gems.
I think we're really going to strike gold this time. Jackpot!
It's It's not the dragon we want. It's the pony.
This has to be one of the strangest episodes of the entire show. And you know, I wasn't exactly against Spike's little crush on Rarity before. It made me laugh at the little guy, and now I see it as nothing more but a kid crush. As a kid, I had my own crushes on girls way older than me and way out of my league. Shut up. Selena was hot. Miranda is an 11 out of 10. And Padme is a queen. Damn Skywalker, you got lucky with her. No comment. I was 10. Point of this is I like Spike at his age, also had ridiculous never gonna go anywhere creepy crushes, and so through Spike I not only relate, but I can laugh at them in my old self. He's not a baby, he's a child. He's like, if the CMC are 9 and 10, he's 11 or 12, and that's when I had T-Higher silly crushes, so it makes sense. And just as Spike daydreams, I'd had my fantasies of winning as okay as heart in battle as Padme Skywalker came to my wedding. Or swiping Miranda off her feet during a disco dance hanging out with the cast. Like Carly. Point is, it's a kid crush, nothing more, and I'm glad nothing came out of it for Spike. Now there were a few moments throughout the show when Rarity shows him genuine affection for T-Higher friends, and I also had some crushes on my friends that ultimately, despite showing genuine affection for each other, went nowhere. Granted, those friends were twice my age creepily, but I don't see Rarity ever giving into the dragon wildest fantasies. But as I go through my third viewing of the series, or this episode in particular is just getting creepier by the minute. But before we continue, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Alright, so here's the rundown of the episode. A fancy singer named Sapphire is in town and wants a new dress. She goes to Rarity's shop, since she is now an up-and-coming designer and wants to see if she's got what it takes to make a super outfit for her. She sees a fancy, sparkly, crystal-decorated outfit and takes it and 5 others, all like it all done up. In different gems, Rarity agrees plain to make all of them. To do so, she needs more gems and goes on the search for them along with the best gem finder Spike, due to him being a dragon and eating gems. You know what, I like that take on a dragon. It's unique. We all heard about dragons guarding a pile of riches, but why? Well, why would they do it? Usually it's because it's shiny and they're attracted to shiny objects, rares, at least in most stories. But in MLP it turns out that no, dragons like gems because they eat them. That's a fascinating take on whole dragon guarding a hoard of riches concept. Anyway, long story short, Rarity finds herself in the tunnels and a group of dogs, called the Diamond Dogs, want shiny objects so they kidnap Rarity, because she's good at finding jewelry. I can't stand the Diamond Dogs. Look, I know I'm a Discord fan, and Discord is creepy, and that's what I like about him. Well, he's got a charm to him, a charm these creeps do not have. Plus, Discord gets a character upgrade thanks to Fluttershy befriending him. But these dogs, the way they talk, the way they sound, I get what they're going for. That creep from Lord of the Rings, and guess what? I don't like it. I hate the Diamond Dogs. And in fact, I wish they brought them back later onto the show, and guess what fixed them? But they never did. Instead, they have a mention it at the end of the series and nothing more. What the hell? I don't like them, and you could have fixed them and never did oh well. To save his one true love, Spike gathers the team to go after her. Nice try, Spike. But Rarity annoys the hell out of her kidnappers to the point where they let her go free. And the lesson of the day is pretty simple. Just because someone looks weak doesn't mean they are. Even so, it's an entertaining episode, I suppose, but in giving it a 5 out of 10. I even forget this episode exists half the time, and for good reason. The dogs creep me out. I don't hate it, but compared to everything else the show does, this is one of the strangest episodes of My Little Pony. And yet, for some strange reason, this isn't the worst episode of Season 1. But we'll get there soon, don't worry why. Episode 20 green isn't your color.
How do you feel? Excited, overjoyed, thrilled beyond your wildest dreams?
Nervous.
Nervous? Don't be ridiculous. You're only facing a large crowd of ponies who will be watching your every move and silently judging you.
Oh sure, that won't give her stage fright at all, will it? Ever been asked to help and agreed to do it because it's your best friend? And you don't want to disappoint them, even if you yourself really don't want to do it. Yeah, but I've been there, and so has Fluttershy. This is why you should never make promises you can't. It all starts with Rarity needing someone to model her clothes for her, and who could be better than one of her best friends, and let's face it, prettiest of the cast. Fluttershy, despite being shy, agrees to help a friend, only for it to get out of control when she can't just say no. Okay, so that's a common thing with her and why a lot of people don't like Fluttershy. The whole lesson of just being able to say no. But actually, she is a great example of very realistic take on shyness and introvert nature. And her story is how she grows, but let's not get on that tangent and stay on topic. She doesn't want to disappoint a friend, and so does the modeling. However, she's good at it. Too good. The photographer, photo finish, quickly decides she doesn't care about Rarity's dresses and just wants Fluttershy, who doesn't even like being in the limelight. And so due to this, Rarity Santas to become a little envious, also known as jealousy, or in other terms the title of the episode, a little greedy. Hilariously, Rarity wants to quit, but at the same time wants to support Fluttershy and vice versa. Eventually, though, they come clean and things go back to normal. I think this is a fantastic lesson. Yes, it is important not to break a promise to a friend and want to support each other, but at the end of the day, it's even more important to be honest. Something I'm sure AJ would have told them had she been in this episode. Oh, never mind, she uses Fluttershy fame to get more sales. Well, at least she's honest. That's the true lesson here, right? Use anything to your advantage to get rich. A great business move, I guess. Okay, seriously, though, I liked how it was Twilight who was pulled into the middle of it. And how she so desperately tried to get the two girls to sit down and be honest with each other while downright keeping her promise. Also, that subplot about the spy crush made me giggle. Again, I don't ship it, it's a kid crush, but I do laughy at the silliness of it. And Pinky always coming out of nowhere warning about keeping a promise was funny. Anyway, while I won't get into too much detail, I do remember one time my two former friends arguing about something silly and fighting and arguing for days, actually 3 weeks, and putting me in the middle of it, especially with one friend, confiding in me and promising not to tell his story to the other. Yep, I was in the same mess with Twilight, and you know what I did. I waited it out sometimes. The best solution is just to let the friends figure out their issue alone. And now looking back on it, I do think it could have been solved faster if I got them in the same room and told them then just to be honest with each other. There is also a lesson somewhere in there that sometimes if it's for the betterment of the group, it's okay to break a promise on rare occasion. But in the end, honesty is the best policy. And if you don't like something, you don't have to be mean, but you can explain why you don't want to do it in a civilized manner. And if they hire a true friend, they will understand. And if they don't, well, then were they really ever a true friend at all? Just something to think about. This is easily an 8 out of 10 for me. Episode 21, Over a Barrel.
We may be divided, but of you all I beg to remember we're all hooked at the end of each leg. Share, you gotta care. It's the right thing to do. You gotta share, you gotta care. And there'll always be a way through.
It appears that Sheriff Silverstar and I have come to an agreement.
We have.
That was the worst performance we've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Why won't anybody be rational and reasonable?
Now that's politics in a nutshell. Going into this episode with as much caution as possible. Look, this is a very touchy subject, and My Little Pony is far from the first show to tackle such issues. Hell, in the comics, we even fight alongside deer trying to protect nature against the evils of big business. These topics are always going to be relevant and should always be delicately handled. This video is less about the subject matter on the discussion of land righted, is more of a fun deep dive on the story presented to us and its lesson. Because let's face it, there is no way I can justify a topic like the colonists versus true natives in a YouTube video without being completely looking like a villain, whatever stance I take on it. This is just one of those types of issues, and I flat out hate politics. Instead, let's actually stick to the script. This is a video about rainbow-colored ponies, for God's sake. Starts out with Applejack being all motherly to a tree. I told you she was motherly. Truly, she's the element of caring more than honesty, but I already made a video on that topic. Hey, I said I already made that video. I'm not going into a tangent this time. Now, why don't you clean out the ship already? I'm supposed to make video and entertain the masses. If I don't, we don't have power for the ship. I don't care, clean it up and get these pesky bugs off my ship already. Yes, H, you just can't find good help these days. Can you believe it? He honestly thinks because he does the ship electronics that is an excuse for not cleaning out my ship. Anyway, if you notice some bugs from time to time in my videos, it's because this place is a mess and neither of us had taken care of the trash. It's even started to pile up something nasty in the corner. The tree named Bloomberg is a gift from Applejack to her cousin, who wants to start his own crop in his home, the Wild West. But where he was trying to grow it was on the land of... What? What you mean they're back? What a swarm of... Oh no. Parasites incoming. Yes, I agree we should run. In there. Let's go. Ooh, okay, so now we have a problem, an infestation of a bunch of pests. Oh, but I still have my video to make. Fine, while we search for some instruments, we'll continue with the video, I guess. Anyway, where was I? Oh, right. The buffalo wanted to stop them from growing on their land, so they attacked. Once they get to Applejack's cousin's place and explain the situation, we find are trying to set up shop as pioneers, but the buffalo, for some unknown reason, is just tearing apart all their hard-earned work. Meanwhile, Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash try to save Spike, but turns out they like dragons and so they're cool, so long as Spike says so. They learn about the buffalo's point of view and go to town to settle things out. Unfortunately, like all politics, that doesn't go anywhere. Oh, look, he hires a tuber that should work to get those pesky bugs out. All right, let's head to the ship, shall we? Anyway, the buffalo and the ponies soon decide to go to war. It's a kid show, so how are they gonna fight? Well, the ponies decide to throw apple pies at the buffalo, who decide to bulldoze them down and run over their corpses. Yeah, that's a little violent. Honestly, the ponies stand no chance, but somehow cartoon logic, the pies actually hurt the buffalo. Well, I guess they're not as tough as they look if all it takes is one pie to defeat. They fight until the chief buffalo gets and is defeated, and as he lay there dead, some apple pie drops in his mouth. Well, turns out he's not dead and he likes the apple pie. Turned out it tastes good, and so they soon decide, all right, we'll let you grow some apples if we get a cut from it. A deal is struck and everyone is now happy again, a simple yet effective compromise, teaching kids the value of sharing, caring, and deal-making. I truly think how this episode was only supposed to be a fun lesson about compromising using the classic cowboys versus Indians tropes. And don't think the writers in any way were trying to put in a message on the matter of land politics, but I can't deny that the implications do create a look in justification. But I'm going to stop there because I don't want to even touch that subject. This video isn't about that. The episode, I don't think, was supposed to be about that. It was about compromising. And in the real world, all the time, people make deals with each other comprising, giving permission for something if they give something in return. However, in the concept of sharing, I actually really hate the so-called steps it took to get there. It's the same issue I find in MLPG5 when Sunny and her friends take over the old factory of Sprout. Sunny in that episode claimed that the place belongs to the people, and because of that it should be up to everyone on what to do with it. This is a straight-up line that teaches a horrible message. Let me explain why. Say I have money. I worked a job. I had earned that money myself with my hard work. Okay, now, I have the money and I buy a candy bar. The candy bar is mine. I bought it. I don't owe anyone else the candy bar. Now, isn't it a bit selfish to eat that candy bar? Yes, it is, but it is my candy bar, and if I chose to be selfish and not share it, then it's my problem, not anyone else's. Now here comes someone who wants a candy bar, but doesn't want to earn money. He just wants everything to be handed to him. He's a lazy jerk who demands my candy bar to be shared with. Him saying it's the people's candy bar, he should get a piece. And instead of getting off his lazy ass and working for it, he decides he wants everything handed to him. How is this fair? How is this caring? Let's say I sort it. He's just minding his own business and I chose to share. Well, then I would maybe gain a friend out of it, wouldn't I? That are the options I have. Either be selfish and not have friends, or share my bar and maybe gain one. In G5, Spout owned the building, and Sunny should have tried to convince him through the art of how to properly share and talk things through. Making a deal. Dad should have convinced Sprout to do it. But here's the thing, Sprout should have come up with something he wants in return. And what could he get in return? More friends who could actually like him now, since he is the host of the coolest hangout spot in town. That would have been a proper compromise. He gets friends and they get a place to hang out. It's one of the many reasons why I don't like the G5 writers. Because I feel so many people today are way too entitled and don't want to make a deal. Which, by the way, even Sprout doesn't need to give them the place either. He would clearly have to weigh the options, either having friends or having an empty building. Same goes for this G for episode. The land is the buffaloes. They lived here first. The ponies should have come over and tried to convince them on making a deal. And the buffalo could have kicked them out, or could have weighed the option of getting fancy pies, so they compromise. It's nice and all to say you got to share, you got to care, which I think is the lesson this episode was trying to say. But the truth is no, you don't. If I don't want to share my candy bar, I don't have to, nor do the buffalo have to share the lamb. That is the lesson I feel as though My Little Pony was trying to teach with this episode. Yeah, they failed. Which is why, in my opinion, this is a bad episode and I'm giving it a 4. The only reason why it's not 0 is because it's actually very entertaining, but it doesn't get any lesson across in a good way. Neither does G5. But I do like the buffalo designs and do wish they were a part of the School of Friendship. In the latter seasons, I'm sure there was, we just didn't get to see them, but I do understand why an LP chose never to touch this subject again, and instead focus on even more complex and complicated subjects. God, I love this show. Oh, here we go. Okay, G, for you open the door and I'll play the tuba. Let's get these pesky bugs out of our lives. On the count of 3. 1 to 3. Oh, well, would you look at that. They actually made this place look sparkly clean. Eating all the garbage. A compromise. I'll let them stay so long as they clean my ship. Just watch them, G, for make sure they don't eat the power cables. Never mind. G, for you have some work to do. Episode 22, A Bird in a Hoof.
Sorry I'm late. I had to finish taking care of a patient first.
Oh, you and your tender, loving care of little animals. I just know Princess Celestia is gonna love that about you. I mean, I hope she will. I mean, of course she will.
Wow, Twilight. I thought I was the only one who got nervous at social gatherings.
Oh, it's not that. I just want the princess to approve of my friends. I want every pony to make a good impression.
Watch the dress. Careful, you're gonna spill that on me. Oh, that looks delicious. What is it?
Oh, does it stain? Keep it away from me.
Which is the salad and which is the appetizer again? And which am I supposed to eat first?
It's candies and pies all night! Oh, chocolate fountainy goodness.
I too can relate to this. I once had a group of idiot friends who were about to meet my awesome cousin, and I acted just like Twilight and was so embarrassed by those dorks. That was then, this is now. Anyway, this episode is actually focused around my favorite pony. Oh God, no, not Celestia. I can't stand her. I'm talking about Fluttershy. I will not hide my dislike of her. She is so boring. God, I don't hate her. I swore, but I won't deny I can't stand her. I mean, out of an entire season, and all she does is she is just so lame. I mean, the most she does in this is make a T-Joe crank on the cakes. Lame. Sure, she has some personally, but she is just such a frustrating. Oh, right, Fluttershy. I already made a video about how overrated Sunbutt is. Let's stay on topic. Yes, I do thank you for always keeping me in check, G4. Anyway, so Fluttershy is late. I enjoy the reference to Alice in Wonderland. But the show really starts when Fluttershy meets Celestia's pet bird and find her extremely sick. So she takes her and tries to make it feel better as a gift to the princess. Without permission, yeah, she stole the bird for the right reasons. And tries all she can to help it, only for it to get worse and worse, and soon Twilight finds out who also panics. And so, when 2 guards comes looking, Twilight insists on hiding the bird because she's worried the prince punish Fluttershy. And then it gets worse when they try to force the bird to get healed only for it to go on the run, and they hilariously chase after it. But when it all comes to an end and Fluttershy comes to catch it and save it, it bursts into flames and dies. Yikes, that's a little harsh for kid show, right? Of course it turns out that the bird is not sick, it's just a phoenix, and as a phoenix, when it quote-unquote dies, it's reborn, or this case just likes playing a nasty prank on caring pony, and thus was never sick in the first place. Technically, though, it was dying, so the whole thing is a bit morbid when you realize that. But if it wasn't doing it, it was just doing this as a prank, yeah, that's even worse, ha ha ha. There are several lessons here. For one, don't overreact. I just like Twilight used to overthink what would happen if I made a mistake giving me anxiety. And then finding out that the best policy is honesty. When the bird was taken, Fluttershy should have just gotten returned it. And when she noticed the bird was sick, she should have just asked the princess about it first. Don't just make assumptions. Asking questions is important. With that said, yeah, I don't like the episode. Despite my enjoyment of Fluttershy, this is probably one of the worst of the season. I don't hate it, but I defiantly don't love it, and I think a 7 or 6 is being generous. It's a 5. I literally forgot this episode even existed. The only thing I remember from it is this stupid joke, and not for a good reason. Episode 23, The Cutie Mark Chronicles.
Neither have I, but Spike told me it was awesome!
No matter what we try, we always end up without our cutie marks. This town is full of ponies who have their cutie marks. Why don't we ask them how they did it? Let's find out how Rainbow Dash earned her cutie mark. Yeah!
You know what? I'm intrigued, but in all honesty, when I first saw them, I just thought it was a creative design choice. But to actually add real symbolism behind them is great. But it never even occurred to me to ask how the other adult ponies got theirs. And so today we're reviewing and I can't believe I'm saying this word again, but I have to because it's in the title, Cutie Mark Chronicles, Season 1, Episode 23 of My Little Pony. After the CMC fail at getting their marks for ziplining, of all things, they soon decide why not try to ask Rainbow Dash, and the others, but mostly Rainbow Dash, how she got her mark. It's also cool the fact that this episode started Scootaloos. Healthy obsession with Dash. Sure, we'll call it healthy for now, love. But then they run into Applejack, who recalls how she got her mark. She left her long ago and went to her aunt, the snooty oranges in the big city of Maine at 10. But while she was there, she soon became homesick. But when she saw a rainbow come from the direction of home, she decided to go back to the Apple family, along with a batch of them on her ass. I like to think that she did this, not only after her parents died, leaving her in a confused part of her life, but also when she went on as a musical singer, that whole fun thing all. Twilight turns out was really good at magic, and so her parents signed her for Celesti School. And while they're doing a test to hatch a dragon's egg, a rainbow explosion goes off, causing her to go a little out of control with her raw power. And so in hopes to teach her, Celestia not only takes her under her wing, but Twilight got her mark, and oh look, she hatched Spike. This proves to me that Spike is not a baby, because this was baby Spike. Oh yeah, I did a video on that, better not go into too much detail. Here, you can go check out that video if you haven't seen it. I also like how excited Twilight is still over that story. It was very cute for her, an adult mare, to jump like a filly again. I got a good laugh out of that, and you'll know what, we never get to hear how Pinky got her mark. Instead, she tells us how Ponyville was founded. When she was a little filly, she lived on a boring rock farm and had no smile until she saw a rainbow so big it made her smile and want to share that feeling of happiness with her family. That is somehow the way Ponyville was made. How she got her mark, we'll never know. Oh, I love Pinky. Rarity found hers in quiet the way. She was making costumes for a class play, and they weren't as good as they could be. She wanted them to sparkle to shine, and then her horn starts glowing and dragging her across the equestria. Unicorn magic, all right, but when she gets there, it brings her to a stupid rock, that after a rainbow explosion boom, she finds a bunch of gems in the rock and uses them to make her costume shine, generously giving the gems to the others. Go figure. I mean, honestly, we have Twilight's mark being magic, Rarity's being generous, sort of, but Applejack, how was her mark about honesty? I have no idea. But I did make video discussing why I think her element is actually caring and family bonds. And when you think about it, the way she got her mark is because she missed home and cared about her relatives. And it does make sense with her parents being gone, how she would step up and be the family, support the kind, but wise leader she needed to be. Yeah, G for is right, go check out that video if you haven't, but back on topic. My favorite, though, is of course Fluttershy. She was bullied, but Dash stood up for her, and so her and the bully went toe-to-toe. In a race, Fluttershy fell out of the sky when she got too close to the edge trying to watch the race. Coming to the earth, when the butterfly saved her, she found out how much she loved the land. But when the animals get scared from a big boom caused by Dash flying, they hide. Her kindness to the scared animals is what get her element, her astato. Now what about Dash? Well, she got her mark through loyalty. She saw someone being a bully and stood up loyal to her friends, challenging them to a race. She went so fast she created a rainbow earring. Her mark. Turns out that rainbow Pinky Applejack Twilight and Rarity saw was her. In other words, even before they knew each other, these friends were destined to be together and be the bearers of the elements of harmony. I do like how they set up the backstory of all of them and how they got their assed. No, never going to stop that joke. But it's a great connection between them all, and a fun story. And it's great that Dash was in fact reason it all happened. It's as if to say her loyalty to her friends and helping them get their marks existed long before she knew them, and I like that. I enjoyed this episode a lot. A good 7 out of 10. Yes, I know I give a lot of 7s, but hey, none of this is bad. But there are so many moments that literally outshine this episode I can't give it higher despite not having really any negatives for the episode. It's just an interesting story. But like I said, there are far more amazing moments in MLP, and I can't wait to review every single one of them. Episode 24 Owls Well That Ends Well.
Wow, these cookies are delish! Spike made them. Speaking of, Spike, can you bring us some punch? Spike?
Oh, poor little thing.
Aw, he's worked himself to the bone. And now the punch has been spiked!
Spike Punch, I love the joke. It's so simple but funny. I got to hand it to the writers of MLP. They knew how to put in a good joke. This is a great episode, and I don't care what anyone says. The lesson this episode teaches is crucial for young audiences everywhere. Don't believe me? Well, let's take a look. Get your kid's ass out of here. Hello, I'm Discord Jedi Knight, and Spike is a fun character, and I do enjoy him throughout My Little Pony. This episode teaches him about jealousy and not grow such a big head. It starts out with him as Twilight's assistant. A big shooting star event is coming, and what does he do? He gathers all the group's needs to have a fun night. Except evidently sneezes a book with fire breath, burning it to bits. I really enjoy the way they actually encourages him. The praise he gets, loving the attention, but after the show, and because he is a child, not a baby, but a child, he falls asleep. There are just some times where he can't help Twilight due to his age, and so when Twilight one night is writing a paper, and it flies away due to the wind, and an owl catches it, bringing it back to her. Thankful for it, she offers the bird a place to stay, due to the cold. It happily does, finding a home, and now Twilight's got a new pet. Okay, at some point I want to do a video on the pets, but I'll just say this. It's a nice story, I like Spike in it, but the owl doesn't really have much of personality, and is my least favorite of the main 6 pets. But that's another video for another day. Let's get back on track. Quickly starts doing Spike's jobs, even the next day, and soon the others start praising the bird for it. And Twilight says she's keeping it so that it can give Spike the freedom to do whatever he wants. But it's taking all the action away from him, all the praise and respect and attention. And despite Twilight not trying to replace Spike, Spike is feeling replaced and becomes extremely jealous. Worried about this, he tries to leave, finding a cave that belonged to another dragon. Twilight goes after him, finding him in trouble, and she quickly comes to his rescue. After some explaining, in the end, Spike learns that his good deeds will always be appreciated and that he doesn't need to be jealous of the little owl who sticks around. And I like how Twilight at the end insists he writes what he learns to Celestia instead, wrapping to with what he learned that day. This is what I do really enjoy about MLP. The lessons at the end. And despite, yes, being somewhat obvious about it, especially with recaps at the end, the show does an excellent job of not just sharing what Twilight learns, but all her friends, including the male characters. Sorry, but I do have to mention that this was originally a show for girls, but so many can appreciate the lessons no matter what gender you are. A fun little episode of MLP for sure, and a good 7 out of 10. Episode 25, Party of One.
Not so bad. Police! They're a bunch of losers! Oh, come on now. Losers might be a little strong, don't you think? After the way they treated you? It was pretty rude. Pretty rude? It was downright despicable! It was, wasn't it? If I were you, I wouldn't speak to them ever again. You know what? I'm not gonna speak to them ever again. And I'm not gonna invite them to another party for all I'm with. They don't deserve to be invited to my party. Not after the way they've been acting. These people are losers. Yes, that's right. Well done.
And I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of a hard one, but don't get me wrong, it's very entertaining, and there are a lot of really good laughs in this. But when you're done laughing at her crazy antics and take a closer look at her character, you see just how fragile Pinky's psyche really is. Now, I'm not gonna lie. If you've watched not only my I wanted to hate My Little Pony video, you know that I couldn't stand her during the first season. To be honest, she comes halfway over the top in season 1, and I think no better episode shows that than this episode. And I'm one of the people that grew up with SpongeBob. Funny that I mentioned that name considering I got several comments comparing her to the talking sponge. Nowadays, especially with the latter seasons, SpongeBob really has fallen into that bad trap of taking a character trait and then being their only trait. Something I appreciate about them LP is that it does the exact opposite for most characters. It sets them up with an annoying trait at first, and then gradually adds context and nuance to each of the main 6, and for that matter, even Spike and Discord get that a little later. So many of you are gonna say, what's the difference? What made SpongeBob so good and why not Pinky? Was it really just because you hated the color pink? And while sure, I could laugh and say that was a factor. The fact is, if you look at the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob, the reason why I and so many like him off the bat is because he was a positive, Navi source of entertainment. He meant well and wanted to see the good in life. From the very first episode, he had self-doubts and true moments of self-reflection and character growth all within the span of just the first few episodes. I feel as though the reason why it took me and so many like me so long to warm up to Pinky, if we ever even did, is that the nuance of her personality and character growth takes so long to develop. And the reason why is pretty simple. It's kind of the same for all the main 6, really, except for Twilight. Pinky isn't the main character, Twilight is. SpongeBob is the main character in his show, so much of the focus went to growing his character first. I even argue that the CMC are, in fact, more main characters than the rest of the main 6. That's right, I'd argue the show is not about Twilight and her friends. It's about Twilight, Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo. At least in the first season, they are the ones get the most focus out of everyone. If you look at the first 26 episodes, every character really gets one good all-out character episode, and the rest is told more or less through the lens of what Twilight sees her friends doing. Now, that's just season 1 eventually. There are so many adventures that the nuance between each character is more spread out, but in terms of the first season, Pinky really gets the most in terms of lack of development, in my opinion. But you get used to her antics, and pretty soon, when you look back at her whole character, it's the same for all the main 6. You actually see that there's a lot more to her than just her at times annoying, over-the-top antics. And when things actually get serious, and she is no longer making jokes like that, you know things are actually pretty dire and serious. In fact, it really makes the important situations much darker because she isn't spouting jokes in the later seasons, and it actually makes you miss when she does. I think this is the episode that really cements that. There's something about seeing a happy-go-lucky character fall into such crazy depression when she thinks her friends are like her. This episode starts out with her with that alligator turning 1-year-old. Afterwards, Twilight says we should do this again soon, before heading home, giving Pinky the idea. Why not have some fun the next day? She goes to deliver the message, but everyone is strangely busy and keeps coming up with excuses as to why they can't join the so-called after-party. Pinky feels bad about it, but when she oversaw Twilight sneaking into Sugar Cube Corner instead of studying like she was supposed to, Pinky gets suspicious and hilariously starts investigating with her alligator. She finds all her friends sneaking around and wants to know what's going on. Eventually, she kidnaps Spike and offers him a pile of gems if he tells her what's going on. Hilariously, Spike doesn't understand what she means and says, "Just tell me what you want me to say." And she does, saying, "I want you to tell me my friends don't like me and want to be my friends anymore." Well, Spike confirms it, and part of me wants to. Yeah, they're both idiots. Spike is as much to blame as Pinky for overthinking the situation. But in her defense, all her friends are being really wired. You know, it's interesting that this episode started a strange trope where Applejack is just bad at lying, when in reality, every single one of them is just as bad at lying as Applejack. They're all terrible. Okay, Twilight I can see needing to read, but Rarity dumping her hair in the trash, really? Although I must admit, this means she cares so much for her friend's birthday party surprise that she's willing to stick her hair in garbage just to keep it a secret. I'm sorry, but how many friends do you have who are willing to do that? But yeah, everyone is real bad. But Applejack isn't the worst. I think Fluttershy and Dash looking over a bear cave is the worst. Well, after that, Pinkie has a mental breakdown and starts talking to inanimate objects, treating them like her new friends. Yes, okay, this does give me SpongeBob vibes in the used napkin debate, by the way. That Penny has such a wonderful voice, doesn't it? Take it away, Penny!
Indoors, indoors, indoors. Take it away, Penny.
That Penny has the most beautiful voice.
Okay, eventually Dash grabs her to her birthday party. She completely forgot it was hers, and soon after catching up, she has a great time, giving us the lesson don't jump to conclusions. It's probably not as bad as you might think. Wait until you know all the facts first before you have a mental breakdown over a situation. How do some people actually need to learn this lesson today? We should probably have more adults watching MLP than kids, don't you think, Lol? Never mind. It's a very important lesson, I do agree, but wow. Was this a ride to get there? And as I said before, it adds a lot of nuance to Pinkie. Who would have thought someone so bubbly and happy could have so much built-up anxiety that at the first sign of trouble with her friends, she thinks it's over for them? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on the episode, and for that matter, the comparison of SpongeBob versus Pinkie. Oh, thank God she didn't become like SpongeBob in the later seasons. Yeah, can you imagine how bad the show would have been if that were the case? I seriously don't know how to end this video, so I'm gonna just end it there. The episode nowadays, now that I actually really like Pinkie, is both entertaining and dark as hell, giving me a good laugh. I give it an 8 out of 10 out of 10, one of the better episodes for Pinkie. Not gonna lie. However, if you watched this episode and didn't like Pinkie, I don't think this episode would help you. I honestly think you'd be like me and think she's insane. But I'll let you tell me the comments down below. Episode 26, the best night ever.
I can't believe we're finally here. With all that we've imagined, the reality of this night is sure to make this the best night ever at the gala.
Oh yes, here we are. The season finale of My Little Pony Season 1 The Gala. One of the staples of the show, and one of my least favorite episodes this series has ever given up. That's right, I hate the Season 1 finale. Let's get into it. There are a lot of controversies about different episodes of MLP. Some controversies are downright ridiculous, like the entirety of Derpy Y Hooves. And some controversial episodes do make sense, like Spike's lesson on how he wants to be a pony rather than a dragon. I bet none of you ever thought someone would have a problem with Season 1, right? I mean, how can you? It's perfect. But I do have a problem, and that's the lesson of the episodes. When it comes to shows, usually the first season is either perfect or a testing ground that leads to perfection, typically peaking by the third or fourth season for most one-off series. And that's the thing, an LP is very episodic in nature, especially in Season 1, diving only into one or maybe two season-long arcs at a time. And hey, most episodic series don't even do that. They either do episodic stories, arc stories, or one big seasonal story. MLP tackles just about everything, all building into one grand story by the end. I mean, after 9 seasons, you'd hope to find some type of story there, I'd think. Even so, while MLP is more of a slice-of-life series than a big episodic story, despite having major recurring villains, Season 1 does have a season story, and that's the gala. From Episode 3 with the Ticketmaster to Rarity's Dremscaing, excitement builds for the gala throughout the entire season. Its mention occurs several times and is built up. What do we get? The best night ever? Hardly. Yes, the show tries to teach a lesson here about not letting something bad ruin your entire night, but there's another lesson in it that I cannot stand. Not getting your expectations too high. Twilight and her friends dream big, but things go wrong. No animals like Fluttershy. The party is so sophisticated that the ponies don't like dancing wildly like Pinkie. Dash can't even talk to the Wonderbolt. Rarity's perfect man turns out to be a rich snob who thinks he's better than everyone. Applejack can't sell more than one pie because most people there want fancy, over-the-top dishes that are tasty. Lesson cost $1 million for absolutely nothing. And Twilight can't get more than 2 words in with Celestia, who is greeting guests all night long. When you expect too much, you will always be let down. So don't get your hopes and dreams too high. Yeah, that's the lesson. Let me rephrase that. Don't expect too much. Don't get your dreams too high because you will always be disappointed. That's the lesson they decided to teach kids. The lesson? Don't expect too much. Otherwise, you'll be disappointed. But should we really lower our expectations? Should kids be told to not dream big because they might fail? Imagine building up to Infinity War. For example, let's go Marvel only to have it end with a fart joke, instead of the Avengers all gathering together. Are our expectations too high when that's what Disney sold us? And while sure, we can't expect every project to be the best of the best every time, we should have standards. Should we lower those standards now that you're creating work under the standards that you set? The answer, no. Sure, we want to avoid disappointment, but we shouldn't stop striving for greatness. Companies like Disney used to create masterpieces. Should we just accept mediocrity from them now? Expecting failure leads to complacency. To grow, you have to incorporate failure into your journey. High expectations can hurt, but they also inspire you to push harder and improve. And just so you know, I am speaking from experience. This is the lesson I learned from my own self-improvement. Instead of settling, we should demand more. And yes, I realize I was talking about Disney, but this goes for Hasbro too. Now I am not wanting to fight or divide the fandom any more than it already is. Fact is, we had a standard that G5 did not live up to, and we're the bad guys for having expectations. Luckily, there was a recent change in the industry. If anyone knows about a little tiny, not popular at all video game about a hedgehog build, in being sarcastic, Sonic was amazing, and it was only amazing because they listened to the fans, they listened to their customers' judgment and decided to do better, which landed them a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money. No wonder Sonic 3 beat the poor excuse for a Lion King movie. I mean, I have to show you this. This is from the early 2000s, a little film called Narnia, made by Disney. Just look at that CGI, look at those effects, look at that lion showing actual CGI emotion, and now look at the news so and less stuff. If the Lion King live action was anything like that, I might have enjoyed it better, because it met the old standards they originally set put. But instead they gave us shit not just once but twice now. In 3 or 7A, God, how many of the classic movies are they going to ruin? Oh dear, remember Discord. Oh, El Chum, don't feed into the negativity, just a momentary relapse, I promise. Let's move on and get back on track. They say control your expectations, don't get too excited. You might as well say don't get passionate about something you love. And it's hilarious that this is in the first season of Friendship is Magic. Now, I'll tell you what should have happened. Twilight should have expected a great time at the gala and been frustrated when it fell flat. She could have channeled the disappointment into making her own fun night with friends. The final message shouldn't just be about accepting the bad experience. It's about believing in yourself and striving for better. If we expect something and it doesn't meet our hopes, that's not a flaw. It shows we care and want more. So that's why I dislike the season 1 finale. It teaches us to lower expectations instead of pushing for greatness. And yes, while I do understand that's not what this episode intended to convey, the new unside took away from it made this one of my least favorite episodes from the show. Granted, I do realize the fact that I am most likely looking far too much into it. I imagine looking far too much into a kid's show. No one's ever done that before our original. No, I don't hate it, but it is far from the best the show has to offer. There are fun jokes and moments I get out of it, like Fluttershy going crazy in this scene. But other than that, I just don't think we should ever lower our expectations. Sure, they can be out of hand. Sure, they can lead to disappointment. But when that happens, don't settle. Instead, strive to make it better. No, I'm not talking about perfection. I don't believe in that. But I don't think it's wrong to expect a good night from the gala. And I don't think it was one for them to laugh at the end when things didn't turn out right. I just think that the show told me this was going to be good. I expected a great adventure with the girls, and instead, I got a so-so episode telling me to lower my expectations. Let me know, what did you think? Were you happy with this season finale? Because I wasn't, all right? And there you have all my thoughts. Here is an ice clean look at what we discussed. Let's quickly go over it. I do plan to do all seasons eventually, just like this. This is what we have for season 1. None of my absolute favorites are in this season. Not only is this in tier list form here, but it is also arranged by my favorites from the top down as well. Number one this season. One this season is Art of the Dress. And so on. As you can tell, the worst episodes this season, in my opinion, are Pinky Keenan, Over a Barrel, both receiving 4s. However, there are no 3s or below. I don't think I have any for MLP based on my memory that are that low, but we'll see as we go on. With that said, what are my final thoughts on the season? It starts off amazingly, it really does. Then it settles into pretty good before falling flat somewhere down by the end of the season. In other words, it's a mixed bag. There are some really great episodes in here, but there are also some that are just dab. Nothing I hate, but it's definitely far from the leaderboard. Season 2, though, is going to be an absolute blast, so like, share, and subscribe for the upcoming episode reviews. Now it is your turn. I would love to hear your own ranking, or at least your top 5 faves of this season. Let me know in the comments down below, and remember, my friends, don't forget friendship is magic.